any problems before the quiz that you would like to see?
Can you do 1 from 31 to 33?
1 from 31 to 33, yeah. That was the end of homework where I think the directions were solved.
Yeah.
Good. So, there are 2 different directions that you guys are going to see on the quiz today. You're not even going to see the word factoring. To be honest, you're going to see the word factor. You're going to see 2 directions. One is factor, one is solve. Okay? When you see these on the quiz, I need you guys to realize a couple different things. Solve should look like, wait, how many of you guys have the bonus worksheet? Like some of you didn't do homework, you even played with the bonus worksheet. Look at it. Can you look at all the answers on the right-hand side? Can you tell which of those answers were answers to factor problems and which of the answers were answers to solve problems? Which ones were answers to factor problems? Jonathan, what do you see?
They're in parentheses.
Yeah, they were the ones in parentheses, so what, like D through O-ish, right?
Yeah.
The parentheses are answers to the factor problems. Solve look more like this, right?
Yeah.
So for today's quiz, if you see the word factor, you're trying to get to parentheses. And if you see the word solve, you're getting to x equals, or m equals, or n equals. There were different variables, right? Melanie's asking me to do an example like the solve, but to do the example like the solve, I'm actually going to help you on the factor one also. So, example. What if I was to give you something like, Melanie, I think they're all equal to 0 today. So I'm not going to give you one of the trickier ones where it's equal to a number. Okay? So what if I was to give you something like x squared minus 3x minus, let's do 10 equals 0. Okay. This is a problem on the quiz. Would you know how to do it? Yes. Let's make sure that your process is perfect. No. Pay super close attention. Right? Do I like it when it's equal to 0?
Yes.
Yes. Check mark. Got it. Okay. But don't I, to split the red C, don't I need my parentheses first?
Yeah.
Right? I need my parentheses. That's my second check mark, and I don't have them. So let's pause, and you ready? Let's pause and let's factor first. If this is a factoring problem, to get the parentheses to split the red C, I have to factor. Okay, factor. What if this was a factoring problem? Question, what number would you be looking at first?
10.
Mm-hmm. If you're doing the X method, that negative 10, careful. That negative 10 would go up top, and that negative 3 would go on bottom. Now, if it's a harder problem, it's technically 1 times, but we'll deal with that in the later section. So we're trying to ask ourselves factors of 10. Do you guys realize it's just 1 and 10 and 2 and 5?
Yeah.
Which one looks more helpful?
2 and 5.
Because 2 and 5 subtract to be 3. So we can go ahead and say, okay, 2 and 5, but don't we need one of them to be a negative? Which one's negative if this bigger answer is negative? The bigger number needs to have the negative because he's the winner, right? So the 5 needs to be a negative. Now, I know some of you are like, I know the answer because it is an easy one, but we talked about how for harder ones we need to understand the table, and some of you are doing that work perfectly now. So you would put the x squared in this box, the negative 10 in this box. How would we fill in these two now that we've figured out those two numbers?
It would be
2x and a
3x.
Negative. Yeah, the negative 5x.
Yeah.
We already used the negative, well, the negative 3 is what we used to put or to find these two. Now, how do we go about getting to our factors? We ask ourselves, who is the GCF, right? GCF just means what's in common. So what's in common going this way? X. What's in common going this way? Got it. What's in common going this way?
2.
Do you see the 2? And then, yeah, some of you were ready for this way. Negative 5. So how can I fill in the parentheses, the factors? If it was a factor problem, I'd be done. X minus 5 and X
plus 2.
Okay, this is a factor problem. I'm done. Any questions on the factor? Look at the last number. try to figure out what factors add to be the middle number. I look through all my options and I pick the ones that win. I make sure I have the signs perfect to multiply to be a negative and add to be negative 2. I fill in my boxes, my X term boxes with those two numbers. GCF, 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 GCF. Got it. Read that, go ahead.
On the quiz, do we have to do the table?
No. But the table does show me work if you were to make a mistake. But remember, those of you that are doing like the write it out way instead of the table way, you can always double check you're right if there's extra time by foiling it just to make sure if you're right and you got it, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, it's okay even if you get it wrong, but I can give more partial credit. Andrew Bosch.
Could you do 16?
Let me finish Melanie's question with the solve, and then I'll peek at it real fast as our last question. So guys, now that we know the factors, what can I put in the parentheses over here for this polynomial? What do I have to keep doing? How do I keep going?
Equal all of them to 0.
All of them equal to 0. So once I have my parentheses, then I can go ahead and say, well, x minus 5 is 0, and x plus 2 is 0. Now be careful, don't you have to actually solve so the 5 gets added to the other side? So positive 5 would be one answer, and negative 2 would be the other. Negative 2. There you go. We got my x equals numbers by factoring first. Armando.
So where did you get like the x minus 5?
Oh, I took this problem because it didn't have parentheses over here to remind you I'm going to get parentheses by factoring. And then I was like, okay, cool. Once we have our factors, now we can finish.
So we could just put parentheses around this.
You can't put parentheses here because they're not factors. So were there parentheses yet? No. So you have to factor first. Get the parentheses.
So we can do it in the box, like
Yeah.
if there were parentheses.
Yeah. So I did it in 2 separate pages because I was trying to show you the difference between the directions. But this technically would have been one problem where the box would have been in between this and this. Does that make sense?
Okay, so when you're solving, you would want to factor it in when you're solving?
Yes. Unless, well, hold on. Melanie had us bring up the word solve. What if I had something like old school, like section 7.4, and I had something like, I don't know, 7s squared times 4s plus 1 equals 0? Do I need to factor?
No.
No, parentheses are already there. So, do I have the equal 0? Yes. Do I have the factors? Remember, we draw the parentheses to show them to ourselves, but yeah. So then what would I do? Split. You're taking it too. Focus. Doing your best on it. Remember, we always have makeup quizzes, so you can do the best, and then you can work in your group and hopefully get a better score if it turns out that. Now, some of you would make a silly mistake. How do you solve this one?
Plus 1, no minus 5.
Yeah. Don't you have to do a couple steps? It's not as easy as mental math. Some of you guys would get afraid of the fraction. The question, is the fraction right? The answer is yes. Negative 1/4 is 1. And some of you might have, like, I don't know, you might remember how all of these work out. Maybe you don't remember the square root, but 0 comes from these little guys in front. We can find our answer. So, Andrew, we only have to do the factoring if it's not already done.
Oh.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Because there's probably going to be one of the easy ones on there. All right, your last question was number 16, I think. Number 16, do we have it right here? You probably have it written down already, right, bud?
Yeah.
What's number 16's problem?
Z squared plus 7z minus 18.
Minus 18?
Minus 18.
And I think the directions are just factor because there's no equal sign. All right, all of us put our brains together really quickly to do this last factoring problem. What number am I looking at?
18 negative.
Negative, good, 18. Trying to get it to be 7. I could take negative 18, technically times 1, off to the side. And I'm just going to go for it for a bit until you guys say, hey, see it? 9 and 2 subtract. So if I put a 2 and a 9, I'm subtracting. One of them needs a negative. Who's going to be positive if 7 is positive?
9.
The biggest number. Got it. Go ahead, Jerry. I'm listening.
So I didn't know which one to choose, like 2 times 9.
Here's what I showed someone who came in last night when we were working on the whiteboards. When you see this sign, that means the bigger one had to be positive. If it was a minus, then the bigger one was negative. So whatever 2 numbers you have, you ask yourself, okay, who needs to win? If this is positive, the bigger number needed to be positive. If this was negative, then I would have switched the signs and 9 would have been negative.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So whoever the bigger one is has the sign of whatever that little term is. Sure.
What's your YouTube channel? Because I need to make up the notes, I think. Right?
Yeah, remember I actually emailed you?
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it's also in Google Classroom.
Okay.
But you can just drop by anytime during, well, are you going on the retreat today?
No.
Okay. You can drop by during lunch or after school, and I can just show you too on your phone. So we end up with z squared. Well, I just do it every single day so that every single day you guys have a post of like, hey, here's the notes from today, here's the video if you were gone. Or if you fell asleep in class, or if you were goofing off the entire time and distracting everyone. Hey, there's the video, and there are the notes. Okay. We can do that -2z and that 9z. What's in common? A 9. What's in common? A z. What's in common?
Z.
A z. And what's in common? -2. Remember, whatever that first sign is, we pull it out. So, Andrew, the final factors are z plus 9. Is there any magic to who goes first?
No.
Nope. And there was no equals, there was no solve direction. I'm done. All right, guys, clear off your desk. Have everything but a blank piece of paper for a cover sheet.
I don't have a cover sheet.
I don't think you need a calculator unless you're scared of factoring numbers. And you want to be able to divide by 1, divide by 2, divide by 3. If so, grab it quick up here in the calculator box. Once you're ready, just stand up and kind of be waving your cover sheet. Hold that or be cleared up. Once you're ready. Once you're ready, stand up and be waving. Thanks, Kayla. Thanks, Melanie. Just stay standing. We have to get everyone standing and ready. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Andrew. Jeremy and Ray, just stand up. It must be seen at your desk. It must be clear. And I need your desk clear. Unless I need your pencil pouch. All right, grab a seat. Here we go. Okay, guys, the quiz has officially been passed out, so Adrian, turn around. Are you ready to go? Is our quiz done? Jerry, I'm coming. Jeremy, you're working on your own quiz?
No, I don't have the quiz yet.
Oh, pass the quizzes. Jerry, I'm getting your quiz. The ones we were just doing is kind of like 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7. 1 and 2, just asking yourself what's in common. Some of you guys are realizing when I let you ask questions at the beginning of class, it would have been good if you had asked questions on 7-4. It has been a very full week, so I'm going to, like numbers 1 and 2, do an example that is similar, not the same, but similar on the board. If I were you, I would go to 3 and 4 and 5, and then you can check out my example of something like 1 and 2 and see if you can follow it.
Let's do.
Thank you.
There's an example on the board, like 1 and 2. You can see if you can follow them. But the ones we were working on right before the quiz is 3 and 4. By talking, Jeremy, Diana, Adrian, Jerry, everybody else who's still talking. Thank you. If you don't want me to steal your time, you shouldn't be stealing my time. I'm not writing any passes for people who are going to be tardy for the next class because I'm keeping them an extra minute now. So, the section that we were supposed to be covering today was section 7.6. Now, as you guys know, we never do an entire section in one day. We take 3 days to go over it. However, the homework that was supposed to be due on Monday, I am going to show it to you so you can take a picture of it, because a few of you guys, I know some of you might be going on a retreat today. Some of you, though, are not. Either you're not going as a 10th grader or you're a 9th grader, so this is not your retreat. I'm going to show you what the homework is, but let me show you what this entire section is first. This entire section is what happens if there's a number in front, which we actually already saw yesterday because I gave you a peek at it early. What happens if there's a number in front? So, there is this extra little piece because the problems are going to start to get just a little bit harder in the sense of some extra things are going to start happening, like maybe on your quiz, remember there's a GCF on some of them, maybe there's going to be GCFs that appear for even trinomials. For instance, like this one down below, do you guys see how there's a 5 in every single piece? We could actually, before we even start thinking about the box, we could actually pull the 5. Remember, division, dividing every piece by 5. We could pull the 5 out first before we ever start factoring. That's one thing that's going to show up. But because there's a number in front, that doesn't always help. Remember I said I was keeping an extra 60 seconds because you were talking. Now these ones, the nice thing is that A will come out because it's a GCF. But then you start to see A's that sadly are not GCFs. And what we do then is, remember, we put in our triangle the first number times, our x, the first number times the second number. And that's whose factors we start looking for. Okay, if I were you, I would grab out your phone really quickly. I'm going to show you the homework that's going to be Monday night through Tuesday because we got a little bit behind. It is it, but remember, there's a number in front. So either try to pull out a GCF first, or when you go to your x, multiply the first times the last. All right, kiddos, you can go ahead and leave after you take a picture of the homework. But it's not due Monday, it's due Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
Mm-hmm.